Sigulda in Latvia, the venue for the opening race weekend of the BMW IBSF World Cup. For the first time, World Cup action in 14 years in Sigulda. And in the interim, it has not got any easier to drive, as German ace Stephanie Schneider proved, crashing out in the first heat. With the start record and third fastest in Heat 1, Alana Myers-Taylor looked strong until the sled was disqualified for being underweight. She would not get a second trip. Into the second heat, and her teammate Brittany Reinbold in the top five, trying to hold off Anne van Nieuwenhuis of Belgium. Reinbold, for the first time on this track, learning fast and tidying up the act after the first heat to keep herself in a top five, her career high finish. The applause of Alana Myers-Taylor, her teammate, down in the finish area. Next up, a rookie, Lubov Chenik of Russia. Now, the Russians regard this as their home track. They spend as much time here as everywhere else put together, and Chenik was not allowing that advantage to slip away. She moved into the lead with only 3 to go. Anna Kohl of Germany was in the top 3 after the first heat, but just 700ths in front of the Russian. Could she hold on? The gap came down. The ride looked a little rocky, and at the line, she dipped her head to win the battle with Chenik by just under a tenth of a second, guaranteeing herself her first World Cup medal of the year. Nadezhda Sergeyeva of Russia has plenty of time on this track as well. And with Yulia Bestamenyk, they had a good start in both heats, challenging for the medals and hoping to take it to the leader of the first round, the Olympic champion. She was in the lead with just 1 to go, and that one was Germany's Mariama Yamanka. Despite being the Olympic champion, she has never yet won a World Cup race. So, was it favouring Sergeyeva, the Russian? Yamanka put in a great second run. The first heat advantage had been 2800ths, and she doubled that at the finish line to claim her first ever World Cup gold medal, quietening the questioners who wondered when the Olympic champion would ever get round to winning a mere World Cup race. Sergeyeva took silver, Kola in bronze. Win number 1 of her World Cup career for Mariama Yamanka. She's our points leader after the first race weekend. On a rainy Saturday morning, men's skeleton taking to the ice at Sigulda. And you either have to be quite long in the tooth or very young to have raced on this track before. Felix Kaisinger with little experience, but the maturity of the World Cup rookie in his first race, when he popped the groove right at the start, to get it reset and then put in a good run, defending 5th place in the first heat, was commendable, especially as he was holding off local hero Thomas Dukos, one of only 3 men in the field who raced here in the last World Cup race back in 2004. Kaisinger, the rookie, led with just 4 to go. First among whom was our reigning Olympic champion and last year's World Cup standout Sunbin Jung of Korea. Now, he's never been to this track before in his life, but he does learn fast, and Ironman put in a smoking run to ease Kaisinger out of a chance of the medals. 3 to go. Alexander Tretiakov was the fastest starter here in his last 2 World Cup races in 2004. His fast start, 4:59. 14 years later, he starts 4:55, even quicker. Would that record be enough to take the lead? In the end, it wasn't by just 2 scant hundredths of a second, but he might yet get a medal. There were only 2 sleds left, one of whom was Martins Dukurs. 14 years ago, he was the second fastest starter with a 4:77. He started 4:63 in the first heat, and he had the advantage over Yun of Korea. He was looking for a home win, something that only his brother Thomas has achieved as a Latvian slider. He led with 1 to go, but the 1 to go had a massive margin from the first heat. Not the greatest starts from Nikita Tregobov, but amazing sliding. He'd chosen exactly the right runners for the warm conditions, and he speared away 3600ths in front in the first heat. He added just 1 extra hundredth, but comfortably won. And for him, it was also a first World Cup victory. Nikita Tregobov, the winner then from Martins Dukurs of Latvia and Sunbin Jung of Korea. First World Cup win, and the first time as the World Cup points leader for Russia's Nikita Tregobov. The weather hadn't improved much by Saturday afternoon as we got ready for the first of two races for the two-man bobsleigh. Netherlands' Ivo de Bruin in a borrowed sled from Belgium's Alfred Williamson crashing out, finishing the run, but losing any chance of a good race result he'd been so close to. Into the top five, and an epic first run from Dominik Dvorak of the Czech Republic had seen him really strongly placed, just 2/10 out of the medals. Top 10s were his goal last year, top five way beyond his experience level on this track, and he held off Maxim Andronov of Russia to guarantee comfortably his best career two-man finish. And it was about to get even better because the fourth fastest man in the first heat, Germany's Nico Walter, laid down a bit of a random run, dropping 2 spots down the field. Dvorak, the leader, with just 3 to go. Could the Czechs get a medal? Well, first they had to overhaul the local hero, Oskars Kibermanis. He'd been in third place 28 hundredths off the leader, but only 3 hundredths out of silver. Could the Latvians claim victory in bobsleigh that had eluded them in skeleton? Well, for one, he had the lead, and after a great second trip, he had very high hopes. Trying to defend second place was Austria's Benny Meyer. Best ever two-man race results for him have been third places. Could he improve on that with the silver? He dropped behind early in the run, and a long skid down towards the Kreisel meant that the answer was no. He slipped behind into second with 1 sled remaining. Kibermanis could only watch as the double Olympic champion Francesco Friedrich with rookie brakeman Alexander Schuler had set a track record and a start record in the first heat and improved on the performance in the second heat to extend their advantage to 4/10 clear, running away with victory. For Schuler, a first ever World Cup start and a first World Cup win, while Friedrich continued in the way that he ended the Olympics, triumphant in two-man. Kibermanis in silver, Meyer in bronze, but there's no doubting the star turn in the two-man on Saturday. Germany's Francesco Friedrich, the World Cup points leader. Season opener for the women's skeleton, and the Skeletors proving it wasn't just the bobsledders who'd have trouble with the track in training and in the race. Korea's Sophia Jong has got back onto the sled after several tumbles this week, and she did so again in the race, but it dropped her down from 8th position. Jacqueline Lurling had only been in 7th spot after the first heat. That was disappointing by her normally high standards. Heat 2, though, was much more traditional Jacka stuff, finding lots of pace at the bottom to the delight of coach Dirk Matchens. Lurling would still be in the leader's box, having disposed of Canada's Mimi Reneva and Russia's junior world champion on this track in 2017, Yulia Kanakina. Fourth fastest after the first heat, Jane Channel was next up to try and break the German. With a 6,500 advantage coming down the 95-metre straight, she didn't lose out, staying a quarter of a second in front and homing in on a potential medal. There would be a Canadian in the medals after her teammate Elizabeth Meyer's run. Whatever happened, Meyer dropped behind Channel, but then found pace at the bottom to ease in front, guaranteeing herself at least a bronze to start the season. Tina Hermann of Germany, 12th fastest at the start, 2nd fastest at the bottom. That's the way she does it. She too dropped behind, but the gap was yawning, and even Tina couldn't mine for gold at the bottom of the track. Elizabeth Vache, now Meyer, led with only 1 sled to go. But that sled was a slider who has more experience on this ice than anyone else in the field. Elena Nikitina had done a start record and a track record in the first heat. She didn't need either to win, though, at a canter, going away 0.3 of a second clear to record her first World Cup victory on what she regards as home ice. A track she knows intimately rewarded her with a comfortable victory over Elizabeth Meyer, her first medal as a married woman, and in third place, Tina Hermann of Germany. Elena Nikitina, for the first time, is the World Cup points leader as we head to Winterberg. The final race of the weekend in Sigulda, again for two-man. This track is just too tight at the top for four-man racing. Nico Walter of Germany in 5th spot after the first heat on day 2 for the two-man race. And this time he didn't let an advantage slip away. Held off Dominik Dvorak of the Czech Republic to guarantee himself at least a top 5 finish. And who knows, maybe more. Consistency so tough on this difficult driver's track. In front of him was rookie Alexander Bredikin of Russia. Now he knows this track well. He doesn't know many others too well. He dropped behind Nico Walter right from the beginning and he never quite recovered. Walter was still in the leader's box with 3 to go. And the gaps on day 2 of the two-man were much tighter. There was a German in 3rd place already, though, after the first heat, rookie Christoph Hafer. And Hafer put in another great run to guarantee himself a World Cup medal in his debut weekend. And there was still one German sled to go as Germany had a 1-2. The only man preventing a German clean sweep of the medals, Oskars Kībermanis of Latvia. He'd moved up from bronze to silver on day 1. Could he move up from silver to gold on day 2? He was only 0.02 of a second off the lead from the first heat, and a great second run gave him and the thousands of Latvian fans lining the track great hope. Sandis Prusis, the coach, maybe not quite as convinced as they were, though. Only time would tell. Well, time and Francesco Friedrich, that is, the two-man Olympic and world champion, last year's World Cup points leader. He already had 1 win under his belt from the first two-man race, and he was not letting this one slip away, but it was close. He dropped behind twice in the run, only to fight back and win and break Latvian hearts again by 0.06 of a second. Double two-man race, double two-man gold for Francesco Friedrich, double silver for Oskars Kībermanis, and a first ever medal for Christoph Hafer. So naturally, with 2 wins, it is Francesco Friedrich, the Olympic champion, who leads our World Cup standings ahead of Kībermanis. But then there's a 4-way tie for 3rd as we head to Winterberg in Germany and a double 4-man weekend.